So we know that the most credible influencer in new product purchases would be a peer. And with that in mind, what we're doing is getting peer farmers involved very early. So because they're involved in the development, the design, the trials on a new product like that, they then become the first advocates or the first raving fans. They can share their experiences about how it works, why it works, what value they've seen on their farm.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Wisenetix Podcast episode. Wisenetix Podcast, as you guys know, is your hub to be up to date on the latest innovations in agriculture and also learn more with leaders about all sorts of interesting things, from communications to marketing, sales, logistics, and of course, innovation. And that's a little bit about what we're covering today. If you haven't subscribed to our podcast yet, make sure to find the subscribe button somewhere in the screen and hit it just so you guys can be up to date on the latest episodes and the amazing conversations we're having here. And I'm really excited for our conversation today. Today we're having Margaret Oldham. She's VP of Innovation at AgLaunch. Margaret and her team, they're basically revolutionizing how agriculture technology integrates with farmer input to create sustainable, impactful solutions that are changing agriculture. Welcome, Margaret.
Thank you. Thank you, Ricardo. I'm looking forward to our conversation today.
For sure. Margaret, we had the opportunity to have a few conversations earlier, but just so our audience can get to know you a little bit better, can you share a little bit more about yourself and about how your career journey led you to innovation in agriculture?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is a story I love to tell. Sometimes when we're in this type of setting, I point out the dairy cow over my shoulder. And my roots started on a dairy farm. You know, I was raised on a dairy farm in central Mississippi in the United States. My parents were innovators. My dad was a very innovative dairy farmer, implementing several new technologies and practices that helped our farm be successful. So I had a really vivid interest in agriculture from a hands-on perspective. I decided I was going to make a career in it, however, when I was showing a Jersey cow, which is a brown dairy cow, right, at the state fair, and a reporter interviewed me and said, "So is this where we get our chocolate milk?" And I was just flabbergasted that someone thought that a brown cow would give chocolate milk. If you don't know anything about agriculture, that may seem logical. But at that moment, I knew my career was going to be spent in agriculture, working to help educate and communicate about the great state of agriculture, the industry of agriculture, and what it does for the world. So from there, university and studied ag economics and ag communications. Worked for a couple of major ag chem companies. I'm really proud of the time that I spent there. I got a lot of great foundational training. In fact, I wound up serving in a training function for two major companies. And so maybe a third of my career was spent in that early formative time with the major ag chem companies and sales roles, training and development, marketing, leadership, those kind of things. At the time I wanted to start a family, my husband and I decided we should be in the same area at the same time. So I started working in a virtual company before virtual was demanded and cool. So I began working with a small startup that was focused on peer influence and word of mouth marketing to help introduce innovation in agriculture. So, wow, it felt like I was going from an innovative farm and background to now working with the company that helped educate farmers and influencers like veterinarians or nutritionists on how to use new products or new uses for old products. And some of my clients were big names like Elanco Animal Health, Monsanto, FMC, BASF. And so really had a wonderful section of my career. I'd say another third of my career was spent there. And I also got the startup feel because we were a startup. We were, everybody, all hands on deck to make anything happen. And I had an ownership position in the company. And then another life change happened, and decided to depart from that company, start doing things more locally. I was at this time ready to not go virtual and be in person more. So wanted to work more locally. And I started working with AgLaunch and another company, another big startup here in town, and I'm in the Memphis, Tennessee area. From there, I really landed in AgLaunch. And the reason is I felt like with our mission, and I know we're going to talk about that, but our mission is really to connect farmers and startups so that we can accelerate innovation to agriculture. That's a component of the mission. That's, as VP of Innovation at AgLaunch, that's my role. And so I lead the teams that do that. And that just felt like full circle for me. Like all the experience that I had built up in my career and all of my roots in farming were now kind of coming together to really lead a team that's doing something that can really impact the future of agriculture.
Today's going to be a very exciting conversation. First, I love the story about the brown cow. That's and the chocolate milk. That's the best for me. And I love like you have this diverse background, although like agricultural focused, diverse within agriculture,
Yeah.
and with a strong link with education, which is what we do here every day at Wisenetix. It's all about educating the industry through content. Connecting professionals, some, as you mentioned, veterinarians or nutritionists, producers, to the latest technologies and research in academia and industry. So there's a lot of synergy. I'm pretty sure we will be able to contribute with some interesting topics here with our audience. And let's start talking a little bit more about the mission, right?
Absolutely.
We can see AgLaunch as like an innovation engine for agriculture, right? And I want you to explore a little bit more on your mission and the unique model you guys built around on innovation with farmer involvement. I love this. But my background is in design, so a very important part of design, and if you think about design thinking and process of designing, which are exceeding the barriers of the world of communication or design and being applicable to business as a whole. An important part of the process of designing something new, developing something new, is validation. And I think that's some sort of what we're discussing here, right? So tell us more about it.
Yeah. So, if you think about the engine of a vehicle, it's the thing that runs, right? Like it makes the vehicle move and run. So for us and at AgLaunch, our engine is the farmer. Like we consider ourselves our organization an innovation engine. We're designed around a network of very forward-thinking farmers. The goal is to advance ag technology, doing that through farm trials, through their vast knowledge, market access, land access, data, and investment. So, we believe that farmers are probably going to be the ultimate end user for most ag tech, right? So why not get them involved early in the design? And so that is something that is really different about our model versus what you might find the typical pathway to innovation might include. When I worked at large companies, the pathway was to do everything internally, and then when you were ready to go to the farmer, you launch, right? Like you and why aren't they buying? Well, very often is because you missed a mark in some way. You missed, what they need, how to position it, etc. And so with our model, we bring farmers in very early. We like to work with founders and CEOs who have an early idea that they're still proving out the tech. We get farmers involved. We know that by having the farmers get that technology in their hands, work with it on the farm, that we can help prove out the value proposition, how to implement that product, and really understand what value it brings to a farmer. Those are critical things for a farmer to actually adopt the product when it's ready to go to market, or when you're ready to make sales. So what we're doing also then is those early farmers who are willing to test and trial, they understand it's not a finished product. So it's a special kind of farmer. Not every farmer has the patience or the resources to do that. So if you were thinking about, a bell curve of the buying group, it would be innovators as like 2.5%. Then you've got early adopters, and then typically there's a chasm, like there's a break before you can ever get to the early majority and late majority. We work with those innovators, those people who are willing to test, trial, break, fix, and help founders really work out the kinks. And then that accelerates that decision-making process for a customer. So our model is really built with the farmer at the very center and heart of everything. We've designed an accelerator process. So founders will be selected by farmers. And it's a pretty extensive selection process, I might add. It's 2 or 3 months before they're finally selected. Then at that point, the startup has the opportunity to join our AgLaunch 365 accelerator in exchange for equity to the farmer organization. So AgLaunch Farmers LLC. So now farmers have selected a startup that they believe can make an impact on the farm and that they can help, and they get equity in that company. So wow, what a powerful combination, right? And so we just see that this model has been working incredibly well. We've had the full model in implementation now for 3 to 4 years, maybe 5. And it's an industry-leading commercialization process for sure. We give those startups 2 years of support, really from like even proof of concept all the way up through Series A. It does the program itself consists of our accelerator, a farmer-centered business development approach, and then multi-year farm trials. So it's a pretty well thought out and comprehensive approach to help startups, like I said, accelerate.
That's awesome. So you're working with innovators, so forward-thinking farmers, and they're helping to shape the technology, right? That we'll see in farms around US and maybe the globe in the next few years. How do you think this model impacts on, adoption of new technologies and innovations within agriculture? Because we know it's a tough job for startups that are by themselves out there trying to sell their products. We know that the adoption of new technology is a challenge. So how do you see the impact of your model to this adoption?
That is a great question, because you're exactly right. The hardest thing then is when you go to market and how do you get farmers to buy. So we know there's research that's been done that shows that farmers trust their peers more than anybody else. So a company, representative coming out with 3 or 4 degrees, maybe I'm a doctorate of agronomy, but I'm here in representing the company. So it impacts the credibility. So we know that the most credible influencer in new product purchases would be a peer. And with that in mind, what we're doing is getting peer farmers involved very early. So because they're involved in the development, the design, the trials on a new product like that, they then become the first advocates or the first raving fans. They can share their experiences about how it works, why it works, what value they've seen on their farm. So we build that into the process, and we've seen that is a powerful impact. I'll share a story with you, Ricardo, if you don't mind. And so we were trialing a new product. It's Amplifier. The company's name is Avoya. We hear a lot about biochar and soil health. Well, this is a biochar extract. So it overcomes some of the issues in handling biochar. If you've ever, dumped a fire pit or cleaned out a fireplace, all that soot, the ashes, etc. That's what biochar is, right? It's messy. Can you imagine handling that at scale, trying to spread that on a field? Well, Avoya has perfected and protected a process where they do an extract, and that extract can be applied in furrow or on the seed. When we started working with them, we recommended trying some in-furrow treatments, and we matched them up with multiple farmers across multiple states. One example, we had one of our farmers harvesting a crop that he had tried Avoya on, and he called us and said, "This is fantastic. I want to put it on 500 acres." Like, he was ready to adopt the product across his acreage because he saw increased plant vigor, higher yields, and he just could see it. So that's what we want to do, right? And so that becomes a testimonial. That becomes that farmer becomes a raving fan for that startup. And that's kind of our model in action.
That's awesome. So basically, you take an innovator who is someone that is already willing to adopt a new technology.
Yep.
You test them out with them, you get results, and then he becomes an amplifier of your message and a trusted referral.
Yeah, that's right.
It's right peer validated experience. That's awesome. And one very interesting thing that you touched earlier is the fact that farmers, they actually get an equity on a company. So it's a mix of a Shark Tank, where the the guys that are choosing the technologies or the businesses, they are also end users, right?
That's right.
And also we covering a little bit about the key pillars that we discussed. And please correct me if any of those pillars are not accurate, but we're talking about farmers' equity and involvement in the process. We're talking about the entrepreneurial value, right, for the guys in the startups with the new technology, and also about investment and growth.
That's right.
Right. I'd like to start with the first one, equity and involvement. How do you ensure that farmers have a stake in the process, and why? I know that we touched this already, but why would you say this is important?
Oh man, it's absolutely critical. It is again the foundation of our model, but we've got the numbers to prove that it works. And so, you feel a lot stronger about something when you have an ownership stake in it, right? In time equals commitment. Time's our most valuable resource. And the farmers that are a part of the AgLaunch Farmers LLC are not just any farmers. They are farmers who have, signed up to say, we are willing to do this. And we estimate that the farmers who are on our selection committee, they may spend up to 50 to 60 hours to help select the final 8 companies that we bring into a cohort. And I'll walk you through the funnel. This kind of rolls into that second pillar as well. But we have an open call for applications for startups to apply to AgLaunch 365. This past fall, we had, just shy of 100 companies. We put out a farmer vote. We asked our full farmer base to vote on the value of that technology to the industry, the value to their farm, their interest in trialing or investing in that technology. From that, we compile those votes. We have about 20 companies that we'll bring in for what we call, the challenge event, where we, look under the hood and we learn a little bit more about those founders. Are the founders coachable? And our farmers dig in and ask more questions so that we understand the technology better. And out of that, then we make offers to up to 10 companies. So it's a really farmer rich experience for the startups, and even those that don't make it to the final portfolio position find great value in hearing from farmers. One of the hardest things for entrepreneurs to get access to is their end user, the farmer.
That's awesome. So we're talking here not only about the involvement of farmers, but also the entrepreneurial value, right, for
Yes.
startups that have the opportunity to be there. So now covering the last pillar here, investment and growth. You mentioned the Farmer Innovation Funds, right? I think this is something that is relevant and interesting for our audience to learn more.
Yeah.
How does this fund support early stage startups, and what kind of success have you seen so far?
Well, the Farmer Innovation Fund, we are just starting to raise that. We got the green light from the USDA in August to pursue raising $50 million as the Farmers Innovation Fund 2. And we are working with potential LPs now to raise that money. We have a thesis that says that our model is more successful. We invest in a very early stage. We anticipate that we'll have, if you were thinking about a baseball analogy, everybody's looking for the big home run. But you know what? You can make a good bit of money just by having doubles. You can score a lot of runs with doubles and triples or even getting singles. You got to get somebody on base before you can get them around the bases. So our model actually proves that out. But early stage is the critical piece of that. And right now in AgTech, in the AgTech world, in the entrepreneurship arena, there are very few investors who are willing to bet on the early stage. And that's because typically it's 1 or 2 out of every 10 that are going to make it. So we understand that. But because of our farmer-driven process, our success rate has been higher.
Interesting. We're seeing companies, companies in the new area of business and startups and everything, and people trying to do things in a different way, a new way. We're seeing. I have a few friends who are working in companies where, as they grow in a company, and again, it might be not a direct comparison, okay, but as they grow in a company, they start, instead of having just like a salary, promotion, those sort of things, they start getting shares in the company, right? So I think this is amazing because you're actually showing the importance of the work the person is doing, because they're getting a piece of the company for themselves, and actually put them in a position where they are much more engaged on making this thing happen, right?
Exactly.
So I don't know. It's just something that I know there are different worlds and everything, but this opportunity for farmers and everything, I think it's amazing. It's definitely a win-win.
It absolutely is. And so while we are working to raise this fund that will go toward early stage investment in startups, our farmers also have additional opportunity to invest money. So we've talked about them investing their time, their resources, their energy toward helping startups get going. But they also have the opportunity through our sister organization, Ag Ventures Alliance, has an angel group called Countryside Angels. And so our farmers can be members of Countryside Angels. They are members of that organization if they're accredited. And therefore, they can put their money into new technologies as an individual, in addition to their ownership stake through the AgLaunch Farmers LLC.
Now thinking a little bit about the future, I don't know if that's the future or the present actually, but you're connected with lots of different startups with different solutions and technologies. What are some of the key innovations or emerging technologies you're expecting and seeing in the near future in agriculture?
Yeah, I know you've got a great following in livestock, so I won't start there. In livestock, disease management has absolutely just grown to be an even bigger concern, right? With the avian flu, African swine fever, and other very contagious, highly contagious diseases that we don't have solutions to control. So prevention is where our focus is, right? And what can happen is, just within days or hours, one infected animal can spread that. We're hearing about the price of eggs going up because layer flocks have had to be taken out of the industry. And so we're working with some emerging technologies around disease management. We're working with a PCR-based company. PCR testing would be like when you go in, if you've got a cold, sniffly, right? Runny nose.
Like they did in COVID-19 with
They swab you for flu, yes or no. They swab you for COVID, yes or no. They swab you for, strep or whatever, yes or no. So it's a very individualized test. but we're working with a company that can reduce the time for farmers to get answers from 3 to 5 days now to 1 or 2 hours. So imagine that on a farm where you can get a quick answer like that. You can segregate a sick animal until you know the answer and know what you're dealing with, and perhaps prevent that spread throughout a full herd or flock. That's really powerful. And then beyond that, we're working with genomics companies. And this one is fascinating. You can go in and swab an environment, like you swab the nozzle a pig is drinking water from, or you swab the farrowing crate or whatever. Maybe you take, we can also do blood or our feces and that kind of thing, waste products. And from that, you can pull all the DNA information that helps you determine everything that's present in that environment or maybe in that animal. And then from there, you can start to see what might be causing the problem. And I'll give you an example of how that's really powerful. We, one of our companies was working with a hog producer out of Thailand, and they felt like they knew the disease that they had. They had been vaccinating against it. It was they felt like it was a known virus. However, pigs were not responding to their treatment. So they asked this genomics company to run their testing to see what was there. And sure enough, in the genomics testing, they learned that virus had mutated. And now the virus was something new. And so what they were treating with did not impact the new virus. Now that they know what it is, they can create a new protection barrier, a new method to vaccinate those animals. So that's just an example of how genomics can really make a huge difference. Lots and lots and lots to figure out about that technology. But I am super excited about what that can mean for us in terms of, it's not only, protection for that farmer and their revenue and their livelihood, but it's also a biosecurity and national security type.
The nation's production,
Exactly.
Yes,
The
yes.
nation of the world. It's so true. And so those kinds of technologies just have tremendous potential to make a difference.
Awesome. Any other success stories that you would like to share with us, case studies and highlights of the work you guys are doing?
I would like to share one. So this is our first full circle model example. So Calimo is an Argentinian irrigation company. Hyrotrad is the founder. Hyro came through our program pre-COVID and was in an early iteration of our own program. We were a startup too, so we iterate and change and improve. But we got him on several farms throughout the Mid-South and helped prove out several points. And then COVID hit. So they retreated to Argentina and really focused there. Recently, this past year, they had an opportunity to really bring in a large investment. They wanted to clean up some early investment stuff. It gave us a chance to, in a sense, kind of cash out, like go ahead and take our earnings up to this point. It was about a 3-to-1 investment, if you will. But it cleaned that up for Jairo and his team and the whole Calimo group to move forward with their next big step. And as a result of that, we had a payout for our farmers. So now our farmers get a check related to the Calimo experiment, the trials that we ran. And what's really cool about this, Ricardo, is that this is like a rural economic development plan too, right? Because farmers live in rural communities, and the health of the farmer often dictates the health of that rural community because they are economic feeders. A farmer spends most of his money locally. And so what we've been able to do then is send a check to those farmers. And it's not just the 4 or 5 farmers that did the Calimo trials. It's the other 40 farmers that are in the AgLaunch Farmers LLC that also got a small check related to their involvement and their engagement. So our model is meant to really, reward farmers for being a part of this system, this selection process, these trials, the ongoing advice and input that they give startups. And this was just a great example of one that our first one that has come to fruition and really shown the model to work completely. Yeah.
And I'm sure there will be lots of other ones in the future, but it's beautiful to see like a first full cycle success. It's amazing. That's
exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah. Today, our farmers own a stake in about 40 companies. So think about that, and for the startup, it's a win. For the startup, it's a win because to get through our process shows farmer validation and farmer, it's kind of like a customer verification process. And so many of our startups have told us that it actually helps them attract future funders because funders look at that. And now that funders are becoming more aware of our model of 2 years of farm trials, intensive coaching and support from a very knowledgeable staff of ag professionals plus the farmers, it tends to be a real boost for the startup and the founder as well.
Absolutely. And if you get to the end of the process, I mean, your chances of success are much higher, right?
Yes.
It's a totally different perspective.
Yeah.
So, Margaret, we're coming to the end of our conversation here, which has been awesome. I appreciate a lot you share all the insights and stories you're sharing with us. And that's my dog here in the background, just getting comfortable there. Sorry, I just saw her with the corner of my eye. And but yeah, it's been a lovely conversation. Last thing, what are the next steps for AgLaunch? Are there any upcoming initiatives or opportunities for farmers and innovators to get involved?
Absolutely. So we recognize that farmers, this is new, this is different, right? And so farmers may want to know more. They may want to just understand it better before they dive in and start, doing all the work. So we've created the Farmer Innovation Network. And think about it like a funnel. It's a big funnel. Anybody can sign up if you're a farmer or if you serve a farmer. And our goal there is to help educate farmers on AgTech, the AgTech innovation landscape and investment and how they can get involved or how they can support AgTech innovation. And then from there, there's a pathway to ownership. So if they want to take those next steps and really dive in, there's a pathway through our partner Ag Ventures Alliance, and then they can get involved in Countryside Angels where they can invest, but also AgLaunch Farmers LLC where that equity comes from service. And so we're really excited about the Farmer Innovation Network and what it, how it can give every farmer, an opportunity to learn more. Anybody that wants to find out about that can go to our website, which is aglaunch.com, and just click on farmers and go right there. And they'll learn more about the Farmer Innovation Network. There's a place to sign up. We'll hold information sessions monthly. We'll get those started here in February. So monthly info sessions to learn about the experience and what to expect. And then from there, we'll be doing training on the AgTech investment landscape, angel investment, and other things. So we're excited about what that means. We also have a showcase, an AgLaunch portfolio showcase and demo night coming up February 27th. That's here in the Memphis area, Memphis, Tennessee, USA. And we'd love to have folks come check out our portfolio teams. We'll have robots. We've got Grain Weevil, which is a robot that goes across the grain in a storage bin so that people don't have to get in there. So it's a tremendous grain management and safety device. We'll have ants, autonomous nano tractors. So those are meant to help us expand into diverse crops and crops that are typically high human labor intensive. It doesn't replace the need for a human, but it does expand the breadth of any one human, right? By having these nano tractors out in the field. So we're excited about those, but come check out our showcase. And then the other thing is that night, our 8 startups, the teams that we've just selected, will be kind of graduating from our accelerator. There's a demo night. So they'll be making their pitch and sharing what they've learned throughout the accelerator. It's a great opportunity. And again, you can get those details on our website. Follow us on social media. We have a presence on most of the big platforms in the US, the LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. I know I'm forgetting one.
Twitter, X.
Yeah, so we've got a presence on those. You can follow me personally. I'm Margaret Oldham, Margaret Wallace Oldham on LinkedIn. If someone wants to connect and learn more, I'd be happy to talk with them and share more information about what we're doing. We're our whole team is passionate about bringing innovation to agriculture with a pathway that starts with the farmer. So we're so blessed to get to use our experience and our expertise and our energy toward this every day. And we just would love to have others get involved in it.
It's really exciting, really exciting. All the new technologies you're sharing and the whole work you guys are doing. It's something very nice. It helps us have more faith in the future, and it's just amazing.
Yeah.
Margaret, thank you so much for taking the time. I love this conversation. I'm sure that our audience did as well. So thank you so much. And for you that is listening to us, make sure to tune in, subscribe here, and don't forget to visit AgLaunch channels on social media. Make sure to connect with Margaret there, and just get involved. There's a lot of cool stuff going on, so let's make sure we are on top of things. So thank you, everyone, and I hope to see you all on our next episode.
Thank you.